After World War II, the world said, never again. And yet it happened, again and again, most recently in Rwanda. In just over 3 months in 1994, some 800,000 people were slaughtered, many cut down by machetes. The ethnic animosity which generated this intense hatred had a long history. Prior to independence, Tutsis were on top of the social and economic pyramid. They had ruled and often oppressed the Hutus for generations. When Rwanda got its independence, the tables were turned as a majority Hutus came to power and began a systematic repression of Tutsis, expelling some and killing others. Hutus learned they could score political points going after Tutsis. Before long, this became an ingrained part of Rwandan politics. In 1990, a Tutsi exile army invaded from Uganda and tried to reclaim a national role. The invasion was thwarted by a combination of French, Belgian, and Rwandan troops. Ultimately, the matter ended up in Arusha, Tanzania, where a series of negotiations ensued designed to create power-sharing arrangements which would give both sides a piece of the action. However, there was no provision for the kitchen cabinet, the insiders, the men around President Juvenal Habyarimana, who was Hutu. These men stood to lose everything: influence, positions in government, and ability to steal from state coffers, and began to see Habyarimana as selling them out. This group came to be known as the Akuza and began to think in terms of genocide. In 1991 and again in 1993, they organized pogroms aimed at Tutsi residents in certain areas. Despite the hundreds of people killed, they didn't result in any widespread international condemnation. By early 1994, Habyarimana was under intense pressure to implement the power-sharing accords of the Arusha agreements. The president went to Tanzania in April 1994 and agreed to implement the remaining provisions. However, on April 6, just as his plane was landing in Kigali, it was shot down. The president and all aboard, including the president of Burundi, were killed. That signaled the beginning of the genocide. The Hutu militia, Interahamwe, were soon on the streets looking for Tutsi and Hutu politicians who had favored the Arusha Accords. A popular hate radio station exhorted people to kill Tutsis. And they did. Tutsis gathered in churches for refuge, but the Interahamwe would come and throw grenades. The U.S. and others called for a ceasefire to no avail. ADST, follow us for Part 2.